Hey guys, again, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our show.
And if you love what you see, and I know you do, please rate, review, and subscribe. It would mean so much to us.
Yeah, it absolutely means the world to us, helps us get out to a wider audience, really just capture more people that we can help you with this show. Again, if you're getting value, check us out. Thank you again.
So grateful to you.
All right, so just had a dynamic interview with Sean R. Callagy, and if you are not inspired after coming on this call, he's accomplished so much, faced so much adversity, and really just found his way. He's an entrepreneur, a national speaker, philanthropist of one of America's top trial attorneys, online personality, and creator of various peak performance technologies. And oh, by the way, he's legally blind warrior and adventurer. He's created a mission, and his mission is to influence influencers to merge ecosystems so 1 + 1 = 1 trillion relationships that will make the world an even greater place. And we really dive in with the core principles to get your why, the important philosophies to really create your sphere of influence and just master your circumstance. And he asked me some really, really engaging, thought-provoking questions. So this is one you're going to enjoy, and make sure you like what you hear, go over, give us a ratings review, hit that subscribe button. It means so much to us. All right, let's do this. All right, and thanks again for checking us out. Of course, if you like what you hear, go over and give us a ratings and review. It doesn't have to be 5 stars. We just want to hear what you like, what we can do better, what greatness we can bring you. But today we have Sean R. Callagy on the show. Hey, Sean, how you doing?
Hey, Jason, how are you? And thanks everybody for your time. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And we had a great talk track off point. You're actually close to me. You're there in New Jersey. So loving a good New Jersey rain that we get today, and down in Long Beach Island, which is a place that I've enjoyed a lot. And really, it's just an awesome place and super excited. So Sean, you've accomplished so much over so many years, and you talk a lot about your space of influence. Why is that something that's a consistent talk track for you?
Yeah, thanks, Jason. So, I came out of school knowing I was going blind. I'm legally blind. And I was an athlete growing up. And I thought that the way the business world worked was very much like athletics. I was captain of the Columbia University baseball team and listened to my coaches, worked hard, went to a great high school in northern New Jersey, little public high school, very middle class town. And it was like amazing. So I thought when you went to the working world and I got my law license, an attorney, and you just listen to these guys and everything's going to work out. And I realized that people felt amazingly disconnected from their ability to control their money, their time freedom, and the magic of their life. And then I realized the people who had that ability had the power of influence. At first, Jason, I was really unbelievably upset that Ivy League undergrad did not teach me that. Law school did not teach me that, and acquired $100,000 of debt from law school to learn that influence was the superpower that unlock people's money, time, and magic. So I set out to learn how to do that because I wanted to have the freedom to make choices in my life.
So what are some of the separating factors from a person who realizes this and someone who still hasn't had that occur to them?
So I think the difference is that we think, there's 3 things I believe that they're the reasons people create results. There's the mapping and plan, I call process mastery. There's the self-mastery, the inspiration, aspiration, the motivation, discipline, whatever you want to share that gets yourself to do it. And people have those too. They're like, I got a great map. I got a great plan. And I'm so excited. I'm going to take action. And then people don't say yes. And they think that there's something wrong with the plan. And they eventually begin to stop taking action, blame the plan, then move to the next plan. And same thing happens, and the next plan. And then they start blaming the plans. They start blaming their self-worth. And the missing interconnected piece is the influence mastery. So what do I think it impacts? I think it impacts how much money people make, how free their time is, and how they have the magic and experiences they want. If we had one more little detail, I think the other piece, Jason, is that we innately connect our ability to influence with integrity, and then what to actually do with it in our process to some portion of us, our self-worth. Like, I don't think people connect their golf swing, how they hit a tennis ball, how they play musical instruments, like their inherent self-worth. It's a developed skill set and knowledge with integrity and authenticity that deepens connection extraordinarily with people so that people don't see us through a prism that's false. So it isn't about like pressure. It isn't about making something happen. Like, you're brilliant, your space. If you're not able to explain your brilliance and what you do, then people miss out on merging with you, Jason, and all that you're doing. if you can't explain it. So what happens is people get no's all over the place where they don't otherwise belong, and they don't realize that it's simply because their influencing skill set is not where it needs to be. And it's never, it's never yes or no about influence. Yes, I'm a good influencer or not. Yes, I'm a great influencer or not. It's literally where you're on the scale of mastery. And when we enter the top 9s at our mastery, that's when all the exponential increasing of magic begins.
So do you find that it's a lack of faith that people have in themselves, or is it the idea that so many other people are having accomplishments around them that they ultimately say, well, someone else must have had these things that I don't, so I'm just going to give up then?
Yeah. So our movement's called Unblinded. And I think what it fundamentally is a lack of awareness that process, influence, and self-mastery are 3 different things. So when you realize that process, influence, and self-mastery are 3 different things, and all are required to get to the outcomes we want, now we have awareness. We go, okay, so what happened there? Well, I took action, plan seems great, but I didn't get it. Okay, so it's got to be something in my influence. And then we break into the subsection. So I would say the first jump off point is realizing that we can predict our outcomes if we focus on process, self, and influence. And then from there, the micro distinctions. But I agree with you, brother, that a lot of what happens for people is their faith, because they eventually develop faith that you, Jason, can do it. Maybe they'll believe I could do it if they know me, but they begin to believe they can't do it. So that faith diminishes, but that faith is restored to me when people realize that if you have the right plan and the right influencing skill set, it will work as long as you follow through. So that's my jump off.
What are some of the first steps that you see that are paramount from people taking the right or starting the right journey from where they are today?
Yeah, I think the place it all begins is why, right? So our self-mastery to me is driven by why. And originally when I thought like I wanted to start making more money as an attorney, when I lived in a tiny apartment, $100,000 in debt, and wanted to begin to create more, I'm like, well, I'd love to have a sports car and convertible. And then I'd read a book that said, you have to be able to build your quote unquote network. I don't use those words, but network back then. And I talk to somebody and I'd be afraid. And in the moment, the reality of my fear was a lot different than the idea of a physical object like a convertible, right? So I didn't take action. When I learned about the depth of why and truly connecting it to my legacy, my future, that the fear of not accessing our life's purpose becomes a much greater motivator than the fear of like somebody saying no to us. So I think it's when we get into the deeper elements of our why, our legacy, our destiny, that creates acceleration of action dramatically more than a tangible concept like money, like a house, like a car, a status. I think those things are so fleeting, they don't drive any action. And so it's that depth, I think, that really drives it.
Do you have some questions? If there's someone listening just saying, I don't even know how to figure out my why. I'm not sure what I want. Is there some leadoff questions that someone should be asking themselves that can help them determine this?
Yeah, I would say this. Go in this sequence. What do you want? Then ask yourself why you want it 7 times. What do you want? Then ask yourself why you want it. So what do I want? I want a convertible. Why? Because it'll be fun. Why? Well, I guess maybe I'll feel better about myself. Why? Well, I don't know, because maybe I'll feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. Why does that matter? Well, because I care about my life's purpose. Why? And where I came all the way down to is because God gave me talents, and God gave all of us talents, and I believe that we can either bury them, squander them, or expand them. And I'm going to be responsible for those someday. And I want to have the right answers. The step before that for me became because I want to be an example of possibility to my children, to show them what's possible. And then it became to the people around me, and then the God. So each why takes us deeper into that. And it's like, oh my God, I thought I wanted a convertible. Like now I know what I want. So what do you want? Seven steps of why do you want that? 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 And maybe this, Jason, finally, is if you had the privilege and blessing like my grandmother did, right? To know it's going to be your last day on earth. and to know that you're going to think thoughts that day, if you have that privilege, of what your life stood for and what you're going to be remembered for. And when you answer that question and your current want and 7 deep why, then I think you have your answer. And that could take all 30 minutes and change your entire life.
Yeah, and I agree, and that's beautiful. And talking about today, you know, we're in a midst here where a lot of people are at home and a lot of people have time to think. What going through the life lessons you have gone throughout, what would be some suggestions for people who are going to go back to maybe not having a job, maybe not being having the same business that they owned, maybe having to just transition, not because of what they did, but because of something that was outside of their control. Do you have any suggestions for people who may be listening today that feel lost at this moment?
Yeah. So first, I connect with the deepest part of my heart. You know, I'm a blind man. My grandfather was blind. My mom pushed a hot dog cart in Jersey City. So I have full awareness and connection to lack, to fear, to challenge. You know, my grandfather feared his entire, 20s, 30s, and into his early 40s that he was going to be found out that he was going blind, to get fired from his job with 5 kids, and he didn't get past 8th grade. So please don't hear me saying, "Oh, it's easy, like just boom, boom, boom." Like, I have faced dreadful fear on a daily basis that I couldn't pay my bills when I quit my job and built a law firm. So I have empathy and connection to the reality of all these things. And when this coronavirus hit, I have 125 people that work for me as employees. I was like scared out of my mind that I was going to have to lay off mass numbers of people. And I still may have to. I don't know what the future is going to hold economically, but so far so good. And we've maintained our status in the companies that I own, which I'm incredibly grateful for. But I get a lot of people can't. It just is impossible no matter what you do. If you own a restaurant, I mean, you're not open. It's crazy, right? For a lot of these places. And you can't survive on takeout for a lot. So what I would suggest is during this time is to hold a certain amount of your day, 15 minutes, to feel your feelings of dread, of grief, of upset, of sadness. I call it executive creation decision-making time. Experience your feelings, right? So get them out, get them through. Ask yourself some more effective questions now, like, hey, like, what else could these situations mean, right? So you're shifting your thoughts and your emotions through questions. And then to really think about, with the abundance of time being created for you, how to use it productively to increase your value in the world. Like, we each have an inherent value in a capitalist structure. Not our heart, not our love, not our inherent goodness, but there's an economic value to each of us. And I think it's much greater than any of us ever think, right? And I think we can increase it in 2 ways. To increase your skill level every single day. And I can't emphasize enough to increase your influencing skill set, number 1. And number 2, to increase the value of our relationships. And there's very specific ways to go about doing that. But that will be my 3 things. Feel your feelings, then work and massively your time on improving your skill set and carving out time to build the relationship value that you have. And that's how you end up like somebody like yourself, Jason. I mean, I've read up on you. Like, I'm aware of what's going on. You've created an extraordinary dynamic of partnerships and ownership of things. And that happened a piece at a time. Like, it wasn't a waving a magic wand, because you improved your influencing skill sets, had great self-mastery, and you scaled and built things bit by bit by bit, creating relationship capital, leverage, and you have an extraordinary life.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one step at a time, right? And it continues to grow as long as you have the perseverance to push through. And talking on that level, growing your sphere of influence, what are some of the best ways to complete, or not complete because you're never complete, but transform that process?
So sure. So again, having the skill set of influence to me means that you understand how to become heard, have your ideas accepted, and then acted upon. And the process of being heard is rooted in one dynamic, a takeaway dynamic, is creating a scotoma. So when you create blank spots for people, because you're facing knowingness. We're all facing knowingness. Like, okay, Jason's in real estate. I think this means, oh, he's got a podcast. That means this. We're gonna have a conversation with a guy that talks about influence. Okay, like some sales trainer dude. I get, like, we have nanosecond, as Malcolm Gladwell talks about in Blink, we have split second responses to like what people are and things. A scotoma is how you create a blank spot. And understanding with congruence and integrity, grace and elegance, how to create scotomas to opening the listening of people, that is the essential, initial, indispensable. You know, like Jason walks into a meeting and a dinner, and we're sitting with 4 people, and say it's 2 attorneys I know. I'm friends with Dan Geltrude, guy goes by the name of America's Accountant. He's on TV all the time. And I go, hey, you know, here's Jason, he's in real estate. Everybody's like, oh, okay. I go, here's Jason. He owns hundreds of units, dwellings, apartments, like things. Everybody goes, what? Jason? Scotoma. Now you go, well, I don't have that credibility. There's all kinds of ways to create scotomas. The challenge is most people in their influence benefit through, speak into a block, right, of objection, thinking they'll overcome it by like speaking into it. The power of questions and having your identity like there, and then how you deliver it is incalculably important on the left. That's the increase in the skill dynamic. On the right-hand side, what you're doing, podcasting, videos, continuously with people that you connect with, that social proof you, is how you expand your influence. And we created a really fun hack, Jason, which I won't go into in any detail. I know we have a short window here together today, called the Unblinded Real Raw Role Play. And every day we have 5 dynamic people, 2 participants, 3 judges, from Les Brown to the creative action coach, Brad Sugars, 70 countries, 1,000 franchises, all these crazy people, best-selling authors, etc. People like yourself, right? Being judged by people like yourself. And what that's done is created enormous acceleration in relationship capital. And I bring it up because there's innovative ways that you can use technology to connect with people, amplify the number of people you're connecting with and what you're doing, to demonstrate who and what you are. Because once people see you as something, let's say, Jason is seen as successful person in the professional space, in the influencing space, then other people or successful professionals, influencers, like, oh yeah, that's Jason. We want to connect. And then other people want to learn from him. It's the same thing from you. So it's how you create the influence skill set, combine it with guest and social proofing of people you're connecting with, then all of a sudden your ability to create massive acceleration in who you can have a meeting with, what you can talk about completely changes, and you've exponentially amplified your sphere of influence.
I love that. And, some of my greatest growth have been asking other people that I trust in my sphere of influence for critique upon myself. Because sometimes you're so close to something that you miss the points, right? And you have someone who can say something, and when they say it's so obvious, but because you're so close to it that you completely miss it because you're too dialed in on something that's not completely right in front of you. In that point, throughout your years, the adversity that you've overcome, what's been the greatest through line throughout all the adversity? Is
to realize, to not take myself too seriously. You're like, dude, you have a lot of certainty, a lot of quick answers. Sounds like you take yourself seriously. Well, I say Ogmandino's 10 scrolls every day. And scroll number 7 is I lovingly laugh at myself and the world, right? Like I make more mistakes in a week than most people make in a lifetime. I truly believe that. Most, not all, most. So I innovate, I try things. I too don't see what I don't see. And I apply these very same things that I'm articulating and sharing to myself. And I mentioned the real raw role play. That grew out of Corona and saying, look, listen, we're not connecting with people right now. We can't connect live in person. We're not going to have any events anytime soon. What are we going to do to meet new people? And we fought internally. Not fought. We battled. We jostled. We got frustration. We got upset, right? And all of a sudden, you have an idea, and then it kind of doesn't work, but then you innovate a little bit, and it works a little better. And then kind of so to me, the most common thread of my life has been in the face of wanting to quit. And I've made the mistake of quitting some things. You know, I'm divorced. I got divorced in my first marriage. It's one of the great suboptimal decisions of my entire life. Still great friends with the mother of my 3 children. We live 5 minutes apart. We have a great relationship, but I'm always transparent. Like, I've made mistakes, and that was a mistake, right? Because what I didn't do there, which I've done in the places, and I thought I did, and I thought I tried enough, right? But I hadn't, because we never try enough. But it's about vertical innovation is the great through line. Not jumping to something different, but asking yourself, in this context, what can I do to like fix that next thing that'll create the next breakthrough? If I'm not feeling supported in a relationship, and I think I've asked every different way, like, but what haven't I done yet? Like, what would be a disruption innovation there? Like, if I'm in the space of trying to attract or try to get a job right now, or trying to buy a dwelling or find partners to buy a dwelling or invest, what's the next thing? Well, oh yeah, I'm not calling people. Okay, what can I do to get myself to call people? Oh my God, I gotta make a list. It's what is the next micro innovation step that'll take you forward. And when I've messed it up, Jason and everybody, it's because I didn't do that. I just jumped to the next thing. And when I've done it right, it's been to ask myself, what's the next thing to solve for to make this thing work? Hope that answers.
No, it's absolutely huge. And a lot of the stop and go that people have in their life is because they set this big goal, but they forget to ask themselves, well, what's the first step to that goal, right? And so I set this grandiose goal of whatever it be. You know, you can make it monetary, you know, housing, you know, relationship, any of those points. But you forget that first step of asking the question, well, what's next? What's the most important next step I can take? And that's why so many people fail, especially in the age of social media, where, you know, one day somebody looks like nothing and the next day supposedly they look like they have a mansion or whatever they have that's so outside their realm. And then someone says, well, I can't do that because I want that, but I just don't have it. Instead of saying, well, what's the first logical step to start building my wins? So I have win stacked on win stacked on win.
Yeah, Jason, can I ask you this?
Sure.
So just because I feel remiss if I didn't, why are you doing everything you're doing? Like, you're doing beautiful things in the world. Like, what drives you? And I hope that's okay if I ask you a question.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love to understand people.
So my wife and I'll take it back. Funny story. We met in 2003. So Pili was from Hawaii. I'm from New Jersey, and we met, and you know, we started working together at a large bar. It was very large, and it ended up growing about 25 times while we were there. Never dated. We're not together. We both faced times where weren't ideal for either of us, had bad relationships and others. She moved away twice to pursue, you know, acting, and then go back and see family. And then back in 2012 to 2013, it just something clicked, right? It was that moment where it was just right, and we found each other. And you keep persevering for times. And sometimes if you feel you're on the right track, but you don't necessarily know what that track is, you keep moving that direction. And then when I found Pili, well, that was a direction we were both going. We just didn't know it, right? It's almost like when you're like 2 feet from gold, right? Where you if you don't stop, you hit it. But we had stopped at that point, we don't. And through that point of just persevering, continue to just try things and just understand that the road's not going to be perfect. But if I can say to others, hey, listen, we're going to try this, right? Again, like right now we're trying a live show that we just started, right? It's not perfect. You know, the other day, you know, our kids are jumping all over us. One spilled coffee as they come in. They were supposed to be napping. You know, we're on this thing, and it is what it is, but we're trying it. And if we fail, that's okay too, because the greatest lesson are going to come from our failure. And we want others to understand that the important thing is that you find fulfillment in what you're doing. It's not what other people are thinking of you or your possessions or these things that can be easily taken away, and no one really is paying attention to you because they're so worried about themselves. And if we can stop worrying about the outside scenarios and worrying about what is key to us in our lives, the world will just take a whole nother step. And I hope with where we are right now, where everyone has gotten closer in a way with the people that are right around you, that you can come out of this with a whole new perspective on what's out there in life, a whole new perspective on what we can do when we put our minds together, because things can easily be taken away from us. Even like the small businesses that have done everything right, it can be easily taken away. But what can't be taken away is the closeness you can have with the ones that mean the most with you.
Awesome, brother. And can I ask you one more quick one? That's a beautiful story. I'm hearing like depth of love, family priority, really, really cool story. I have a million questions for you, but one more.
Sure.
Would be, what do you do for fun? Like, what are you doing for fun during Corona with your family?
So I like to stress myself, and it's one of these things where I run a lot, and I'm doing a running challenge right now, excuse me, where it's called Calendar Club, and I run daily, and today will be the 30th day of the month, and I'm going to run 30 miles. So yesterday I ran 29 miles. The day before that I ran 28 miles. So it's going to be about 465 miles for it. I like seeing those points, and it's good for me to know, because I find that when I do things like that, it goes to show me that the things I think are hard around me ultimately aren't, and they're all going to pass. Right. And yesterday, honestly, my one left foot is bruised pretty good. I'm still feeling pretty good. My left foot's bruised pretty good, but I know if I just keep putting this one foot in front of the other, I'll eventually get to the end. And that's like a lot that comes down with life. And I love to do that. That's what I like for me, because it gives my mind the time where, just like yourself, that you're active and entrepreneur, your mind's always going. Well, that gives me a moment to just allow my mind to have its best thoughts. And then
brother, that's a lot more than a moment. Running 30 miles, man. Like, that's remarkable. Congratulations. That's mind-blowing.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's been something where it also goes to the point where that's my hard, but I also want to show to other people that any action is better than no action, right? So if your hard is getting up and walking around a block, they're the same hard. It's just getting started and getting going. And that's usually the part of just any motion forward is better than thinking about doing it at any point.
Wow. Very impressive. That's inspirational. And I thought I ran a lot yesterday. I ran 4.5 miles. I'm like, dude,
and it's those things where right now people are waiting for something to happen to get going again. And why is always the question. Right now is the time to there's so much that you can do to improve yourself, to be better. And it goes back to what you're saying before, just like the growth that people have and the influence. Like if you just 1% every day, that's it. Like just like that thing that you couldn't even see. And it goes both ways, 1% positive or 1% negative. If you do that in either which way, there'll be massive growth, either in a great way, which we hope, or in a negative way.
Amen, brother. That's extraordinary. I'm going to tell that story all day. Like, dude, I've heard a lot of crazy things. I have a lot of crazy friends like you, but that's one of the crazy stories I've heard. That's like an apex 0.001% story. That's amazing.
Well, I appreciate that. And we have fun. And best part about it is when I do these long races, my wife, she's right there. The kids they enjoy it. They're in with me. They're celebrating with me. They're crossing off the calendar. They're involved, and it's this camaraderie. And to me, it's important to show family that we're going to commit, and we might, I don't know if I broke a foot and couldn't run it, I'm going to give it my best. Right. But I'm going to go out there. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to give it my all. And when times get tough, we don't just throw in a towel. We say, okay, what can we do differently right now to find the best suggestion? And like you said, you ask the questions, right? If you don't know what your why is, you say, why do I want this 7 times? And if you are trying to create your influence, you keep asking the question and asking the question and asking the question. And it's so paramount to everything. I've thought many times in my life that I've tried every way. And then I think, well, have I? And I never have. There's always another way if you want it bad enough.
Amazing. So can I share something real quick?
Sure. Yeah.
So before I asked you why you do what you do, before I did, and let's be authentic and transparent to each other, where was your liking of me on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 being like, my God, you're never going to let me get out of your sight. A 5 being, like, okay. A 0 being you couldn't stand me. Before I asked you the why about you, scale of 1 to 10, honestly.
So I am always an optimistic people person, and I will always give everybody the benefit of the doubt. And usually I think one of the things that drives a lot, and I'll get back to your answer, but drives a lot is that, like you said, when you walk up, your first impression, right? So if you just said, I'm in real estate, or I do this in real estate, it gives two different impressions. Why I think that the categorization, sorry, I butchered that word, of people gets so quick these days that off a, a text or off a social media post or off of just a glance or off of, anything, their background or anything, people make a subjective thought of who that person is without ever having any context of who they are. But if we could start and give everybody just the benefit of the doubt from the start, think about how great it was. Because every time, a big majority of the time, people are great people. And unfortunately, the news focuses on people who don't do the greatest thing. And so that usually takes it as if that categorizes everybody. Yeah. But most people, they just want a good life. So when I take that, I say, I have every reason to give you a 10 when you come on, because I want you, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for everybody that comes on. And then ultimately, if we are not perfect in our communication or whatever, and we don't, well, we give it our best shot.
So that's very nice of you. But let me ask it a slightly different way. I want to compare before I asked you why, then acknowledge you, then ask you what you did for fun, then authentically, with integrity, acknowledge you again, because every word I said was true.
Yeah.
In terms of your seeing your future in our relationship. So let's say it differently.
It does make this a much stronger connection after you brought up the questions 100%. It created a bond that instead of us having that first meeting and a quote unquote interview, we're now having a connected conversation.
Yeah. And it wasn't simply, it was the questions. It was also the fact that I authentically listened. I acknowledged you. I didn't just go, oh, wow, that's a lot. I was like, what? Because you told me a what story? So I heard it. I acknowledged it. I was present to it. It's freaking unbelievable. Totally crazy. I heard you. Oprah Winfrey said she held the microphone for 30,000 people because she said, I see you, I hear you, and what you say matters to me. And so if I could leave anything here today, it would be that influence truly is a superpower. And our ability to connect with people is rooted in us loving them, hearing them, and giving them that very gift, right? Very gift that Oprah talked about, which is why she's a multi-billionaire. And listen, whenever you're successful, some people are not going to like you. And I'm not saying I agree with everything Oprah does, but she created an amazing level of success and influence because she heard people. So I did that for two reasons. One, because you deserve it. I was talking a lot. You're asking me questions. It is your show. But I wanted to hear you, and I wanted to authentically listen to you and demonstrate what that can look like for the audience.
The power of listening is so profound, right? And if you take in, give an instance. So when we first started, it was a new thing for us. We'd have questions to go by, but I could find that the conversation would get derailed because I was trying to stick to questions that didn't correlate with the person was saying. And in the early days, I was not hearing because I was making sure we would hit the questions. Once you throw the questions out and you understand that every conversation is only in line with what you're hearing from the other person, it creates everything that makes the best conversations that go about. Yeah. Sean, this has been incredible. So for everyone listening who would love to hear more about you, learn more about you, where's the best way to connect?
Yeah, listen, we would hope that we have an amazing way for everybody to start your day. It's 8:30 a.m. Eastern time every day, called the Unblinded Huddle at unblindedhuddle.com. And if you really want to see the power of what we're up to, it's the real raw role play. All this is free. The Unblinded real raw role play. And Jason, no pressure at all, but would love to have you on first as a judge, and then if you ever want to be a participant, because we're having some fun. And we love each other. There's great feedback. It'd be remarkable people for you to connect with. So if that's of interest to you, come on, and your audience can see you, crush it, support other people, and they're learning. But lots of great people like yourself.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Sean, thank you so much. This has been a great interview. I've highly enjoyed everything we've gone over. Really, the sphere of influence, setting up really your mapping plan, your discipline, your influence, just creating your faith through your process, your influence, and your self-mastery, asking the questions about why, and the why really taking you back into asking yourself, why do I want this 7 times? And just finishing with, I see you, I hear you, and what what you say matters to me. I mean, it's been incredible. Thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Join us for your second cup of coffee every Monday through Friday at noon.
Live every day, bringing us our best content we've done so far. Super excited, super engaging, bunch of great guests. We're here to answer your questions, and we so appreciate you listening. Make sure to check this out.
Can't wait to see you.